Hey everybody, Antoine Martel here, and I am finally back on YouTube. I know I haven't made any videos in a really long time, and I'm excited to be back. I'm excited to start pumping out some more long form content. If you want the long explanation, I moved and I had a video editor that was in LA. It was really hard to handle that from Miami to LA, so I got rid of him, and then I focused more into short form content because it was easier. The long form stuff is hard. I have to sit down, sit in front of the camera, get everything ready with my notes and all that kind of stuff to film. So it was just much more complicated. But I'm excited to be back. I'm blocking off every Friday to sit down, film some long form content every single week, and then hopefully publish all that content as it comes out. If you don't know who I am, if this is your first video you're ever watching, my name is Antoine. I've fixed and flipped close to 1,000 houses over the last 10 years. I had a company called MartelTurnkey, which I still own, which sells turnkey rental properties, MartelTurnkey.com. Then I also started in the last year or two FlipSystem, which is like an educational company helping people invest in real estate and do their first deal, but a little bit different than the competition. We actually connect people to local boots on the ground. All right, so a property manager, realtor, contractor, lender, insurance, title, everybody that you would need. We give you 24/7 chat support, help you get into your first couple of deals, give you a full acquisition team to help you find those deals as well. So one of those things that FlipSystem does is help people invest in real estate out of state. That's why in this video, we're gonna be talking about the 5 reasons why I love investing out of state, and you should too. At the very end, which you should stay till the end, I'm gonna talk about what's probably stopping you from investing out of state, which is probably fear, and how to get over that fear. All right, so let's get into the video. Enjoy. All right, so we are going to be talking about the 5 reasons why I, FlipSystem, Martel Turnkey, invest in real estate out of state. So I currently live in Miami, Florida. Before that, I lived in Los Angeles, California. Before that, San Francisco, California. So I have always been investing in real estate in the Midwest and the South of America. And there's 5 main reasons why I have invested in these places and have invested in real estate out of state. All right. So the number one, and I think the most obvious, is the affordability. Cool. Antoine, what do you mean by that? Well, a $1 million house, like, you know, for example, let's say you have a $1 million house in LA, right? And that house, you know, rents out for like $5K a month. Oops. Rents out for $5K a month, it loses money. Okay, so that's what's called the rent to value ratio right here. So you have a $1 million house, it rents out for $5,000 a month. That's a 0.5 rent to value ratio. In order for a house to really cash flow, it has to be really close to 1.0 rent to value ratio. So all of these houses you would buy in LA, they're all going to lose money every single month. All right, unless you put a ton of money down. But then the issue becomes, how much capital do you actually have to deploy into this, right? And that's one of the reasons why I love investing in real estate out of state, why FlipSystem does, why Martel Turnkey does, all that kind of stuff, is because of the affordability. This house, like a $1 million house, I would need $250K. When I first started investing in real estate, I had $40,000. So the down payment on a house was like my max budget for actually buying the house, much less the actual purchase price of the property, right? So great thing about investing in real estate out of state is you can buy a $100,000 house in Detroit, right? And it rents out for $1K a month. So it makes money, right? Because it has a 1.0 rent to value ratio, right? This is now 1.0. Oopsies. 1.0 rent to value ratio, which is amazing. And the property only took me $25K. Right? Took me $25,000 instead of $250,000. All right. So when you're first getting started in real estate, do I recommend you get into a house and put $250,000 down and do all this stuff? Hell no. I want you to start small. I want you to start with $25,000 out of your bank. I want you to have the least amount of risk as possible to get into that first deal. And the way that you do that is by lowering the purchase price of the properties, making sure you have multiple exit strategies, right? So in terms of LA and doing deals in LA, you have very, very limited exit strategies because not all these different exit strategies actually make a profit and actually make money. The way that you can actually get into deals that is going to have the lowest amount of risk and the lowest amount of capital is by, first of all, taking your money and spreading it across multiple deals because we're able to diversify. And second is by getting into deals that have multiple exit strategies. And the deals that have the most multiple exit strategies are going to be the deals that you can buy, rehab, rent, and then you can refinance it, you can sell it as a retail fix and flip, you can burr it. There's all these different exit strategies that you can go ahead and implement. All right. Now, moving on. Number 2, I'm just going to hate on LA the whole entire video and California the whole entire video. Next one, landlord tenant laws. All right. Landlord tenant laws. Why is this important? Because we want to invest in a place that is going to be good for business. What kind of state is going to be good for business? One that allows us to conduct business in that state. Okay, what does that mean? For example, in Ohio, tenant doesn't pay rent, I can get them out in 45 days. Detroit, Michigan, blue state, I can get a tenant out within 90 days. 60 to 90 days, really depends. Okay. Where else do we have? Tennessee. Oh boy. Tennessee's 30 days. Super easy. Michigan, Missouri, we got 30 to 45. Okay. Now let's go over here. California. Average time, what do you think? 120? Can you do it less? Of course, obviously, if the person is willing to. But could it go on for years? Have I heard a lot of horror stories about it? Yes. Have I heard any horror stories in Ohio, Michigan, Tennessee, or Missouri? No, I haven't. The reason why, just way more landlord friendliness. It's good for business. It's better for business. Here's New York too. Oh my God, remember COVID and all that? It's just, again, I want you to get into a deal that's going to make you money, that's going to have multiple exits. We're trying to just reduce risk here, right? Can you still make money in California North? Yes, of course you can. But I'm trying to reduce your risk, reduce the capital, reduce the amount of money you need, increase the rent value ratio, increase the exit strategies. If we do all of those things, to me, it's a safer deal. And I can sleep at night knowing that I'm telling you all this information so that you can go and do a deal on your own. And you're going to make money no matter what happens. Okay. Number 3. Oh, actually I had it on my list. Number 3, diversification. Beautiful. All right. Here's an example. We have Billy, right? Billy has 100K. Cool. Billy wants to invest in real estate. He lives in New York City, or he lives in California. Okay. Can Billy buy a house right now as a rental in California? Maybe. Maybe let's say Billy this is his LA strategy. He can take the 100K. He can buy a $400,000 house, right? Which rents out for like, shoot, what would that rent out for? $2,500 a month, right? And he can make like a 5% ROI on his money, something like that. Cool. And he buys a total of 1 house, right? Agreed? Cool. Now let's take Billy, and Billy wants to invest out of state. He's opened up his mind to investing out of state, investing in real estate out of state. All right. So now he wants to invest out of state, OOS, let's just call it. Cool. Now he wants to buy a $100,000 house. Okay. He wants to buy a $100,000 house. Each one rents out for $1,000 a month. Here he can make a 10% ROI. And he has multiple exits, which helps with the diversification. And now how many houses did he get to buy? 5. 5 houses. Cool. One of the houses explodes. Got 4 houses. One of the houses has a bad tenant. Got 4 houses. One of the house, you see what I mean? Like, I don't want Billy to put all of his eggs in one basket. You better be damn sure that that house in LA produces an income, that deal works out. You better make sure, because you have no other option. Investing out of state, we can diversify by zip code, we can diversify by property type, we can diversify by location, we can diversify by school district, we can diversify by, you see what I mean? We can even diversify by city, for God's sake, and go to a bunch of different cities across America and put our little chips, place our little chips in all these different areas. All right. So that's kind of what I think. And the reason why I put him putting more money down on the $400,000 house is because the house wouldn't cash flow if he didn't do that. So that's how most of those houses are. When you do them in LA, you have to put more money down to even cash flow and break even, because then the lender's not even going to give you the financing. All right. Next one that we've got is going to be property taxes. Okay. So for example, let's say, I'm just going to use a big example here. Let's say you want to invest. So, okay, let's say you're stuck to investing in your backyard. This option number 4 is not even, the lower property taxes is not even a question, because you have no choice. You can't even choose to invest in a neighborhood or area that has a lower property tax, because you're stuck in only investing in your backyard. Agreed? Cool. So now if we start looking at investing in real estate out of state, we have the option to choose benefits that would benefit us, correct? Okay, cool. So we can choose affordable places. We have the option to choose places that are good for business. We have the option to choose where we want to go and how we can diversify. All right. The next thing, we have the option to choose places that have lower property taxes. What are some of the places that have the lowest property taxes in the country? Well, one of those is Birmingham, Alabama. I think on like $100,000 house, the property taxes were literally $350 per year. Crazy. Insane. Insane. All right. California property taxes are all bloody over the place, but let's say you have a $1 million house, you know, $1 million house, the property taxes are probably like $3,000 per year. So it's the same ratio, but again, we're doing littler deals, right? So we have a great rent to value ratio. One of the things that affects rent to value ratio and cash flow on a property is going to be the percentage in property taxes that we pay. So if we have $1 million house, but it's at a 0.5 rent to value ratio, right? And then we have like high property tax. It's going to be a recipe for disaster. It's going to be no cash flow. But option 2, we have a house in Alabama for 100K. We have a 1.0 rent to value ratio, and we have lower property tax. Then we're going to cash flow. Or even if these two are the same, like even if the property tax ratio percentage stays the same, the dollar amount is less. And then it's just about the rent to value ratio, which we know that we can get a higher rent to value ratio in the Midwest. All right. So I think this one's more about just like having the option to choose areas and places across the country where the lower property taxes make more sense for a cash flowing rental property. And then it's like, cool, this one has a great rent to value ratio on these properties, and the taxes on the properties are not that high, therefore the returns are going to be okay. I do want to make some comments around this though. Property taxes gets very confusing when you start to invest out of state. So for example, Ohio, many people are like, Antoine, $100,000 house in Ohio, it's $2K a year in taxes. That's what I pay on my LA house. All right. And correct, the property taxes could be higher on some of these houses, right? And I think where this kind of gets confusing is people are like, cool, I'm going to buy this 100K house or whatever. It's worth 150 now, right? And I'm worried that the property taxes then are going to go from 2K to 5K because they essentially just look at the percentage of property taxes, and they're like, Antoine, you bought the house for 100K, you're selling it to me for 150K as a turnkey rental. Like, my property taxes are going to go from $2,000 a year to $4,000 a year, because they're just looking at the percentage, or they're checking on the Cuyahoga County or Ohio tax website and trying to run the numbers. That's not how it works. So taxes work very differently in all these different markets across the country. All right, you have your California, where when a property is sold, the taxes are reassessed immediately. You have Michigan, where when you buy a property, taxes are reassessed in 12 months, and you have no control over what it's increased to. You have Ohio, where they do property assessments every 3 to 4 years. So actually, property taxes are locked in for 3 to 4 years. You can sell a $100,000 house for $17 million, and the property taxes won't go up for 3 years. When they do go up, it's going to be based on that zip code and the appreciation of that zip code over the last 3 years. And then they're going to increase property taxes for all properties in that zip code based on that. And you can always fight these things off. So with that being said, it really, really changes. Like, you can buy a turnkey rental for double what somebody else bought it for, and your property taxes could not change. So that's the benefit of it, is that there is, like, they slowly increase property taxes. Not like, oh, you sold or you flipped this house, now property taxes went through the roof. It doesn't happen like that. And I'm just saying that as a word of caution, because a lot of people talk to us about buying our turnkey rentals, investing in real estate, and they're like, Antoine, the property taxes just doesn't make sense. And it's just because they're doing the math wrong, because they assume the property taxes out of state work just like they do in their state. But please note that they do not all work the same. All right. Last point and last thing that I love about investing in real estate is you have exposure to trends. Okay. Now, this is probably one of the funnest parts of investing in real estate. Like, you can literally go into a market in middle America, you fly there, you go with your wife or husband and kids and dog, and you go check it out, and you're like, oh my God, Cincinnati is the best place like in America. This is insane that I can buy $100,000 house in Cincinnati in the same quality of neighborhood that I live in LA, and it's a tenth of the price. It's a $100,000 house, $200,000 house. It's a tenth of the price, and I can have I can have 10% the cost of living of what I have, right? My rent goes from 5K to 1K, or 10K to 1K, or 10K to 2K, right? So a fifth of the cost to live. And this is why I encourage you to go visit these markets, visit these cities, all this kind of stuff. For example, I think one of the big ones to note right now is Detroit. And if saying the word Detroit puts a bad taste in your mouth, I completely understand why you would say that. And I would recommend you go out there, because it is absolutely insane the difference between what people perceive the value of Detroit to be and what its actual value is to America as a city, as a place that I think is going to grow. There are neighborhoods in Detroit right now where you can buy a house for 100K. And I believe in 5 years, 10 years, not even that. Let's just not even say that. There's houses in Detroit right now you can buy for $100,000 that in Cleveland, Ohio would be worth $250,000. Okay. There are houses in Cincinnati that are worth 150K that in Nashville would be worth 650K. And I think this is one of the things I just love the most about investing out of state. You get to pick and choose where you want to invest. You get to choose the neighborhoods where you want to invest. All this kind of stuff. And you get to go to all these different markets. Like, if you've gone to as many markets as I have, right? Like 20 cities in the Midwest and in the South, you go and you pick up on all these things. Wow. I can buy a B-class house in Cleveland. It looks exactly the same as this one in Detroit. And this one in Detroit is half the price. It's like, light bulb kind of goes off, like, wow, okay, maybe it is time to buy something in Detroit, because I see it. I see the trends. I saw what happened in Cleveland, Ohio. in the last 5 or 10 years. I saw the property values go up. I saw houses go from 70K to 150K in a couple of years. All right. And then it's like, you kind of go to all these different markets, all these different cities, and you notice these kinds of things. And it makes you think like, all right, cool. What do I have to do? And what do I have to notice around these things? And after you go to all these different cities, you'll start picking up on these things. And you can buy a house then in Detroit that you know is undervalued because you've seen all the other comps and all the other cities around America, right? So I just think it's super, super interesting. You can get exposure to all these market trends. You can also split up all your eggs, talk about diversification, split up your nest egg into multiple different cities across America, so that if one of them does blow up or explode, you again have your chips in all these different places. So if one city becomes the next Nashville, you can take advantage of that. All right. So the last thing that you're probably thinking of, and the last issue you probably have is this. Antoine, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for making this YouTube video, but I don't give a shit. I'm scared. I'm scared to invest out of state because I live in California, I live in New York, I live in Florida, and I've never been to these places. Not like you, I haven't been able to travel to these places. I have work and I can't leave, and then I have my kids and my son's soccer practice on the weekend. It's just really hard for me to go and travel and do all these things, and I completely get it. When my first 5 deals that I did not go and visit the team. I did not know who my team was. We had done 5 deals together before I made the trip out there. Okay. Now, if this is the only thing stopping you, which it's totally okay, now that you are sold on investing in real estate out of state, or you believe it a little bit more, the last thing you have is fear. There's many options and many ways to get around this. Obviously, if the last thing you have is fear and you recognize that, that's a great place to be, because you know that you're just scared. And there's a couple of ways that you can get over this fear. It's number 1, just doing it. Doing it alone. Just go and try and do shit and fail. Test things out, buy some turnkey rentals. You can do something, check out the ones on MartelTurnkey.com. There's a bunch of other turnkey providers out there. Just go and do it and buy one and just face that fear, right? And spend just 20K, right? Or 25K on a house, and just do it and test it out and see what happens, right? Other option is do it with us. Okay, and you can do it with us with FlipSystem, and you can check out FlipSystem.com. But this is what we've been doing the last 10 years. We've done 1,000 of these houses. It's right here as well on my sweater, FlipSystem.com. You can check it out. We will actually choose a market for you, connect you with a local team on the ground, help you get financing, insurance, property management, contractors, all that kind of stuff. And you can do it alongside us. We'll guide your hand through the first couple of deals, and then you have an amazing business. We also do bus tours and all this kind of stuff of these markets, so you can actually go and see and touch and feel the market, because I know that is important to you. All right. Thank you so much for watching this video. I appreciate it. Thank you for staying to the end. If you did, excited to be back on YouTube, and I'll see you on the next one.